Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel where I'm on a journey to achieve my financial goals and hopefully motivating you to achieve yours as well. So today we're just going to be sharing a few things that we did in order to build wealth in our 20s. I wanted to do this video because I do feel like we have to think about money a little bit differently considering our financial situation is different than other generations. So I feel like there's different things that we have to do in order to build wealth. And hopefully this gives you some ideas as far as what you would like to do with your money and if you want to try to build wealth. So let's go ahead and get straight into it. So first off, when you first met me back in 2018, I shared my net worth with you all. Our net worth was about negative $19,000. And of course that happens, especially considering that a lot of us do have student loan debt, and that does bring our net worth negative, especially if you don't have the assets to offset the debt. So that was back in 2018. Our net worth was about negative $19,000. Now, if you watch my latest net worth update video, then you would know that our net worth is currently about $96,000. So over the past 3 years, we did increase our net worth by over $100,000. I believe it's about $115,000. That's just to show what we were able to do. Let's discuss how to track your wealth and your net worth. The way that you do track your wealth is by looking at your net worth. And of course, with your net worth, you just look at your debts and you list out all of your debt balances. If it's student loans, credit cards, car loans, mortgage loans, whatever. You list all of those out, and then you list out all of your assets and their values. So if it's a house, car, savings, 401ks, all of that. And then you just subtract your total debt from the total value of your assets, and then that's how you get your net worth. So that's how you track your wealth, is by looking at what your net worth is. And one of the first steps that you have to take is to make sure that you can actually build wealth, that you do have money left over each month, so you can put your money towards the appropriate places to help you build wealth. I know some people kind of live paycheck to paycheck, or their expenses are exactly how much their income is, or even their expenses are higher than their income. So there's literally no way that they can be building wealth or actually putting their money in appropriate places because they don't have any money left over. So what you want to do is just make sure you're living below your means, so that way your income is higher than your expenses, and that way you'll actually have money to put towards the appropriate places to help you build wealth. All right, so let's go ahead and get into some strategies that we applied in order to build wealth. So this first one, I feel like you've probably been told the opposite of what I'm about to say, but please consider that I'm speaking from experience. Please consider I was able to increase our net worth by over $100,000 while still in our 20s, while going through a pandemic at some of the time, while being a one-income household. I don't have an extremely high income. We've been in a 12% tax bracket our whole entire time during our 20s for the most part. So yeah. We are not making a lot of money, but we were still able to increase our wealth by this amount, and only in 3 years. So please just consider that before I tell you this one thing that we did that's the complete opposite of what you've been taught. So, you ready? So, give up on trying to be completely debt-free. I don't feel like being debt-free is for our generation, honestly, because we have too much debt, especially considering how much student loan debt a lot of us had. So I know when I graduated college, I graduated with about $35,000 in student loan debt. My husband, when he finished college, he had about $10,000 of student loan debt. So I just don't feel like that is for our generation to completely try to be debt free. It's the difference between paying off some debt and trying to be completely debt free. I feel like I really have to sell people on this point. So I'm just going to give you all an example of how trying to be completely debt free can actually stunt you from building wealth as fast as possible. So here it is. All right, so here is our real example as far as how much debt we currently have. Right now I have about $44,000 in student loans, and then mortgage loan we have about $145,000. So altogether we owe about $190,000 worth of debt. So right now I believe my highest interest rate on my debt is my student loans, which is about 4.5%. So let's just say that I have about $1,000 left over each month. Now, according to NerdWallet Debt Snowball Calculator, applying an extra $1,000 per month towards my debt payments, I will be completely debt free as of February 2031. So at that point, then of course that's about 10 years from now. So I will have about $0 of debt. I'll be completely debt free, but I will also have $0 in savings as far as how much I would have saved up. So that kind of just equals it out. Like it's just $0. So then on the other hand, if you were to, instead of trying to be debt free, if you were to try to focus on building your assets as far as the other part of that net worth that you have to calculate, if you were to focus on building your assets and just putting that $1,000 per month in the market, it looks like currently the market returns about 10% per year on your money. And I got this from NerdWallet as well. And then this is just the current amount that the market actually is returning as of the date that I pulled it, which was pretty recent. So yeah. And let's just say over that 10-year period, you actually invest that $1,000 instead. So after 10 years, I would have about $201,458 in savings or investments. So also after 10 years, just using any amortization calculator, my debts, if I'm just making the minimum payment on my debts as far as my student loans and then also my mortgage loan, I would have about $140,000 left on my debt balances. So in the end, after 10 years of investing that $1,000 per month, I would end up with $140,000 in debt, but I would have $201,000 in savings. So that ends up being a $60,000 difference there because I have the money to offset that debt. So I would have $60,000 more in wealth than if I was to actually just focus on putting all my money towards paying off debt and not building my assets at all. So either or, so you can focus on trying to be completely debt free, which you would net $0, or you can try to focus on building your assets, which would, especially in my case, my interest rates are low, and so it's no point for me to try to be debt free. I end up building more wealth if I actually just try to invest my money in receiving that 10% return in the market. If it was a matter of I had very high interest debt, then no, I probably wouldn't try to invest my money instead of paying off debt. I would pay off my high interest debt, but just being completely debt free and trying to do that would cause me to not be as wealthy as I could be because of course, you're not investing and receiving more money. So since I just said stop focusing on trying to be completely debt free, I know you're probably thinking, what should you do with your money? What we decided to do was to focus on actually building our assets and putting our money towards assets that grow in value. So I'm just going to show you a few things that we did in order to increase our wealth and our net worth that helped us reach that $100,000 increase in a matter of a few years. So first thing I would say is buy a house. Buying our house has helped us increase our wealth by so much because now we have equity on our house. So as far as my house, I actually bought it for about $154,000 back a few years ago, and now my house has just grown in value. Now my house is worth about $215,000, so that ends up being a $60,000 increase as far as how much my house has grown in value, and so that is money in my pockets. That increases my wealth because now my house is worth more than it was before, and I didn't do anything to actually make that money. I actually was just just living here, paying my mortgage payments each month. I didn't do anything to make the value of my house increase by that much. It just happened. So that gave me an extra $60,000 right there. And then also, even with you just owning a house, of course, you're making your monthly payments to it. So that is actually decreasing the amount as far as how much you owe before you can actually be done with your mortgage payment. So each time you're making your monthly mortgage payments, you're gaining more ownership into the house, especially compared to renting where you're just throwing away your rent money each month. You're not gaining any more ownership to your apartment. At least with actually buying a house and having a mortgage, you're actually gaining ownership towards the house as you make your monthly payments. Even if you feel like buying a house is kind of permanent for you right now. There are so many things that you can do with it. I know the people that previously owned this house, they actually was living here just for a few years, just so they could get some equity off of the house and then actually buy a house that they were more interested in. I believe they actually used the equity that they had on this house for a down payment on their next house. So you can do something like that. You can establish a rental income. House hacking. If you just buy like a 2-bedroom townhouse, you can live in one part of the townhouse and then rent out the other part and let that possibly cover some of your mortgage, so your housing payments is less each month. And of course, you know, that's just putting more money in your pockets and helping you build wealth. Now you have more money to invest or whatever you're going to do with it. So I know I just mentioned equity. So just in case you didn't know what equity is actually just how much your house is worth compared to how much you actually owe on it. So in theory, like if you were to sell your house, then all that extra money that you have in equity as far as the house value, that's yours. That goes in your pocket. In theory, of course, you have fees to pay and everything, but pretty much that equity is yours, and the rest of that money goes into your account. And then even if you didn't want to sell your house, what I plan to do is taking out a equity loan and trying to invest that money that I get from my equity loan. So, I mean, there's different ways that you can try to access your equity. So as far as us right now, I believe we have about $70,000 worth of equity on our house. And so that of course makes up a good chunk of that $100,000 increase that we have. There is that $70,000. So another way that you can focus on trying to build your assets is invest in your 401k if your job offers one, and receive that employer match. So for me, I put money towards my 401k, and up to a certain amount, my employer actually doubles my contribution. So for example, if I put $100 into my 401k, they would put $200 in it. And so that's $200 extra per month that I'm making just because I decided to contribute to my 401k. They're giving me extra money. So that's another way that we decided to build wealth. And then also your 401k is in the market, so you're even receiving return on the money. So just to share with you all my numbers with my 401k. So I've been working at my job for about 6 years now, and altogether I've contributed about $10,400 to it. So like I said, my employer doubles my contribution, so they contribute about $20,000 to it. And then also I've made about $10,000 in the market. So pretty much off of my little $10,000, I've made about $30,000 extra off of that. And I really didn't do anything extra for it, but that's another way to build wealth. That's another easy way to build wealth. Just doing the contribution and getting that employer match, and then also the market that also gets you more money. So yeah, so that's an easy $30,000 that I increased our wealth by. So that is it. I just wanted to share with you all some things that we've done differently in order to increase our wealth in our 20s. Also, I do monthly updates with our wealth and our net worth. So if you're interested in that, don't forget to go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time. Share with your family and friends to motivate them to achieve their financial goals as well.